Hi guys, this is the hand here with video number 3, and I hope you're doing well in the quarantine. I know I'm not because I messed up my hair. As you can see, there are white areas in my on the sides of my head, and since there was no barber shops open, I guess that's what I get. This week, I decided to review a book for you guys, and I know that I said that I would be going over some of the philosophical concepts that I would deem essential for you guys to know them before I review any books. Since this week's book is not about philosophy as much as it is about history, I decided to go for it, and here you have it. This week's book is on Homo Deus, or Homo Deus. I pronounced it as Homo Deus when I first bought it, but then I digressed to Homo Deus because it was more fashionable for me to pronounce, and I like British pronunciation. So here you go, Homo Deus by Yuval Noah Harari. And this is a book written by a historian, and his first book, I think it was a super smash, and its name was Homo Sapiens. And it's kind of hard not to compare this one, which is a sequel, basically, in my opinion, to Homo Sapiens. It's hard not to compare this one to Homo Sapiens. So, just a quick history on Homo Sapiens. Homo Sapiens, as you know, it's the biological name for human species. Before that, it was Neanderthals, and before that, I don't know. I honestly forgot. Yeah, but it's a history on Homo sapiens and how we evolved over the years and how we became more advanced through various revolutions that we had, like agricultural revolution or industrial revolution, which was pretty recent, like about 200 or 100 years ago. Well, the book Homo Deus is divided into three main sections: Part 1, Part 2, and Part 3, with a brief introduction of 80 pages before the beginning of Part 1. Well, Harari, about two-thirds into the book, and let me just show you how much of the actual book it is. There we go. It's like this much of the book. He's basically extending whatever historical events and main things happen in the history of human beings, which he mentioned previously in his first book, Homo Sapiens, and he is kind of relating them and using them as his starting point in order for him to be able to infer the future of us as a species. And it is basically a brief introduction into his previous book and its main points, and kind of modernizing the ideas that were said previously in the past tense, and just kind of relating them and defining them into how they can be translated into our future. The thing to note here is that Harari in Homo sapiens purely deals with the past of Homo sapiens and how they evolved up until the present moment. But it says nothing about how the future of Homo sapiens might turn out as a result of seeing and looking back at the history of us as a species. So in Homo Deus, he really summarizes important points that he made in his previous book, Homo Sapiens, and in order for the reader to be prepared to read what the future might turn out, how the future might turn out. First two parts, Harari really goes over the three main points that brought death to humans in the past, which is namely famine, war, and plague, and really familiarizes his readers with the main points and solutions that humans came up with as time passed. And he mentions that people were more religious in the past than they are now, because human was, well, a black box. Like if you saw a bipolar person in 1200s, you wouldn't think him as a bipolar person, as someone with mental disability, but mental disease, not disability. But now that we know that it is a mental illness, we can take further actions in order to restore that individual into being able to carry on his day-to-day needs. And really, he says that religious played more important part in the past than it does now. I think Harari is presenting us with a point of view of an atheist, which I have no problems with. I'm an atheist myself. That looking back at the past of Homo sapiens, we can clearly see that whatever that was unknown to human nature, it was marked as evil and as something unknown and unexplainable. But now that we know the biological and genetics of humans, we can cure them, and these things that were unknown to us in the past are not so unknown to us in the present. Speaking of religion, he is talking about emergence of a new religion amongst us human beings, and that is liberalism. No, not liberalism. That's not a pretty name. Humanism or individualism, or the religion that declares human life as sacred. Because as you know, most of the religions, Islam, Christianity, I guess, or Abrahamic religion or Judaism, they don't declare human life as sacred, and they know it as a byproduct of being alive, and they haven't took much action to stop some of the most fatal causes for human death, which is war. But individualism or humanism in the shell of liberalism defines human life as something sacred, and as something to be looked at as crime if taken away from us, namely the human life. If it is taken away from us, then there was a crime committed, and that is not the main point of view of any religion ever, like ever. Well, to talk more on liberal point of view, they believe that each individual has the capability to exercise his or her own free will based on his or her reasoning to make a choice free of anything. And however, Harari does not believe this, and takes an opposite stand to this belief of liberals. And he says that humans are not free because look at it this way: human body is made up of cells, and cells really what they are is them responding to certain stimuli based on what information they receive from certain neurons, right? So if we agree to that, then we can clearly see that human body is an aggregation of organic and neurological algorithms, and it is not random nor free in the choices that it imposes on the individual itself. So really, he says that free will doesn't exist, and he denies this. And as an atheist, it fits into the profile. And as an atheist myself, I can believe that what he says is true, but with certain modifications, however. And he goes on further to confirm that humans' wants and desires are really determined based on these neurological and organic algorithms that are at work every second during our life. Well, Harari, by denying usefulness of religions and free will, really wants to get to the point of saying that human nature is not so much unpredictable as once it was thought of in the past. And if one were to collect enough information on the random but predictable nature of such organic and neurological algorithms that are going on in our body, one could change totally the outlook of how future for humans could look like. He gives us the example basically in every possible major that humans have surpassed expectations, like art, like music, like economics, even medical section. He says that if we have the full genome, I guess during 2015, during the time which this book was written, human genome was not fully sequenced, or was it? I don't know. As a biology student, I feel like I should have known this, but yeah, he says that if we have enough biological information on human body, we are admitting the redundancy of a doctor present for you to know what is wrong with your body at the time of you taking a specific test, or like automation of process of reading your blood sample. He says that if you give a program enough information on the types of things that could be examined in human blood samples, then what is the use of a doctor reading the test results for your blood and giving you his or her intuition on what is wrong with you? A program could do it. If a program could do it, well then, what is the reason for a doctor to be present? If a program can write and compose beautiful pieces of symphony, even more than Bach, well then, what is the use of having to go through all this pain of art school just to be able to write a beautiful symphony or two 15 years after your education? Because a program, well, can do compose more than hundreds of symphonies in a day if he chooses to, or if he tell it to do it. On the cover of this book, there is a fingerprint, but it is not your everyday fingerprint that you do see. I'm not sure if the camera can pick it up. It's a fingerprint, but instead of the normal ridges that is expected to be seen on a fingerprint, there are wires and certain chips on it, further affirming his point of view on this future of human being that is going to be dictated based on the predictable nature of those algorithms that are at work in our body. Keep this in mind that his point of views, in my opinion, are kind of linear, and if you follow them, you would see that if humans were to continue what they are doing as of now, this is how human future would look like. Because he doesn't have a time machine to go to the future just to see how things are popping and just pop back into 2015 when that's when he wrote the book, and just write a very true projection on how we might turn out in the future. No, he's just based on our history and based on our present actions, he's just making certain conclusions that are closer to reality now for humans in the future. And he is touching on basically on the doom of humans by the hands of humans. I think furthermore that based on your religious status, your mileage may vary based on whether you agree with the points of views mentioned in this book, or you just totally hate them altogether and you just throw the book into the trash. Don't do that, also, side note, but that's how some people might react to this book. Well, there are certain people that love this book, and there are certain people who are totally rejecting this projection set before them by Yuval Noah Harari. And to whatever bracket that you feel you might belong, just know that this choice that you are making towards loving or hating this book is not based on your free will, guys. Because, well, just admit it, you've been exposed to certain presupposed environmental and cultural factors which are far more complex than our human minds could like process, right? And just by admitting that, you could put a step forward towards thinking. Just think why you're thinking what you're thinking and where are your thoughts stemming from. And I think that this is the best place for me to stop the review for this week, and hope you guys have a nice week. Stay safe, do your social distancing properly, and hopefully we will get through this alive. Have a good day, and bye.